Welcome to the Faith and Business Podcast. I'm your host, Elle Edwards, mental health champion, positive psychology geek, and founder of the Faith and Business Playground. Join me each week as I talk openly about mental health, the dark side of entrepreneurism, and bring you Bible-friendly tools, support, and resources to help you heal from depression so you can actually be as happy as you think you should be. In today's episode of the podcast, we are exploring the idea that there is joy to be found in the journey. And there is joy to be found in the journey, but it also helps if you know where you want to go. So if you've listened to today's Mindset Minute, you will have already heard me introduce the idea of the perfect ordinary day. Now, long-time listeners will have heard me talk about this before. It's one of my favorite exercises. It's also mentioned in my goal setting book as well, Happily Ever After. It's the very first thing that I have one-on-one clients work through, because I believe doing this exercise gives you a better picture of what you'd like day-to-day life to look like. Now, I'm not talking about day-to-day life when you're on holiday. At the time of recording this episode, although I record these a couple of weeks in advance, but we've just come off the back of a half-term holiday. When I look back on my Fitbit and see my sleep, I got lots more sleep in half-term. Even though I got work done, I slept more as well. And so, I'm very conscious of there being a difference between, holiday type working and holiday type days versus regular day-to-day life. Now, yes, of course, it would be lovely if we could make our work day so delightful that it almost feels like we're on vacation. But the reality is that there are still going to be, different constraints on your time. So if you're a parent like me, they need to go to school, unless you homeschool, in which case you deserve a great big medal, because hats off to you, fair play. But there are constraints on your time that aren't there when you're on holiday. So the alarm goes off at 6:30 on a school day, where it doesn't on the weekend or the holidays. However, this exercise then is thinking about your perfect ordinary day. If you had the same day every single day, Monday through Friday, on a regular work week, what would that look like if it was perfect? And, you want to think about, where would you wake up? Who would you wake up with? Wiggle of the eyebrows. What would you do? Where would you go? Where would you have breakfast? What would you have for breakfast? You really want to get quite granular and specific with this, because the more clarity you can get about where it is you want to be and what you want your day-to-day life to look like, the easier it becomes to work towards that. So I gave the example, I've given this example before, so if you've heard me use this example before, I apologize, but it bears repeating. I give the example that when I did this exercise the very first time, I had this picture of us as a family sitting outside every day enjoying breakfast. Now, I live in West Wales, and I'm looking out the window. Yep, it's raining. And it rains here a lot, and it's cold here quite a lot. And so on the face of it, this idea of having breakfast outside every day is completely mental. However, there are aspects of that picture that we're getting closer towards. So we've got this lean-to. It used to be the kids it's like a really dodgy conservatory, I suppose. Before, conservatories were done nicely with like double glazing and heating, but it served its purpose. When the children were small, it used to have all their toys in there, and you had a nice padded floor and blah blah blah. But this room now, it then became the home for the rabbit. The rabbit has now passed away. She was quite old, happy life. But it's now become just a sort of a bit of a dumping ground. If there's stuff that needs to go into storage that's probably too good to go in the garage, but hasn't got a home, it tends to go in this sort of area. But the plan is to knock this down. With that knocked down, we then have double doors that open to outside, and all of a sudden then from the dining room. So then all of a sudden you're that one step closer to actually making the outside come inside, and vice versa. My point being that without that clarity around what would be delightful to me, we wouldn't have done the work that we're doing to make that more of a reality. And the same is true for you as well. And so I really would encourage you to take some time, if you haven't already, to think about, where is it you want to go? This expression, joy in the journey, is true. And it's great. And I think You'll have heard me talk before about how one of my philosophies is about helping you be happier in regular day-to-day life. So, finding joy in the daft, random things of life. And that's fine, that's great. But if you don't know where you want to go, if you don't know what over there looks like, you could be really close to your perfect ordinary day right now, but you don't know it because you haven't identified what that looks like. And so in today's episode of the podcast, I have homework for you. And I'm purposely keeping this episode of the podcast shorter than normal. So when I first started releasing these, they were 10 minutes or less. We have 20-minute episodes quite often now. As if you're a regular listener, you'll know that. But today's episode is going to be one of the shortest ever, because I want you then, when you finish listening to this, assuming that time permits, I want you to take time right now to think about your perfect ordinary day, to actually do the work, to write it down with actual pen and paper. I mean, you can use your computer if you want to, that's fine too. But don't just think about it in your head, write it down. All the specifics of what you want to do, the work that you want to be doing, where you want to be doing it. And you've got to remember as well that you don't have to be constrained by the regular realities of geography and time. So for example, if in your perfect ordinary day, you wake up in your house, wherever your house is, but you want a breakfast 300 miles away, that's fine. Write it down. If you want to then give a keynote speech 500 miles in the opposite direction by lunchtime, write it down. As ridiculous as it might seem, I want you to suspend your disbelief. I want you to allow any and every possibility to be on the table. If this was your every single day, what would that look like? What would you be doing? Where would you be doing it? Who would you be doing it with? How long would you be doing it for? What time would you be going to bed? What would you be doing in that routine in the lead up to it? All of that stuff. Really get specific, okay? You'll thank me later, because honestly, it's potentially one of the most powerful written exercises you can do to help create that change that you want. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking because I promised you a shorter than regular episode to give you time to go and do it, but just go and do it. And of course, if you want help with this, if you want to go then, okay, what's next? What's the next step? Having identified it, how do I move forward from there? I would encourage you to book yourself a little sadness slayer session. It's too many S's there. Go to faithandbusinessplayground.com/talk. You, me, 30 minutes, Zoom. We can clarify more as a result of this exercise, what happiness really looks like for you, and cover hidden challenges, create a plan, and you'll just enjoy our time together, renewed, inspired, and re-energized. So if that sounds like something that you would benefit from, go to faithandbusinessplayground.com/talk. In the meantime, go and do your homework. I'll catch up with you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.